Look around your room. Does it look like a museum of unfinished ambitions? Exhibit number 1 on your nightstand, the book Think and Grow Rich. You bought it with dreams of changing your life. Read through chapter 1, nodded along at a few parts, and then closed it. Since then, it has changed careers. Now it's a coaster for your morning coffee. Look under the bed. A yoga mat, leftovers from a New Year's resolution. The first 3 days, you worked out like a beast. Day 4, you were busy. Day 5, you were tired. Then, silence. Now it's covered in dust and doubles as a scratching pad for the cat. And inside your phone, the green owl from Duolingo is screaming. It keeps telling you to come back and study Spanish. You once swore you'd be fluent in a foreign language, but your proud streak broke 6 months ago. Every time you look at these things, you feel a small sting. Not because of wasted money, but because of embarrassment. They are physical proof of your inconsistency. While other people move toward their goals like marathon runners, you're more like someone on a casual walk. You see a pretty flower, you pick it, you see a cute butterfly, you chase it. And society hands you this line, jack of all trades, master of none. You laugh it off, but deep down you start to wonder, is my operating system broken? Here's the good news. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not lazy and you don't lack willpower. In fact, the very foundation that makes you quit so often is the raw material of a multi-talented genius, a polymath. The difference between you and a master is not your personality, it's strategy, and how well you understand your own brain. Today we're going to break down which switch in your head keeps flipping off the moment boredom shows up, and how to turn it back on. But to unlock that potential, we first need to understand the glitch that keeps making you quit too early. Do you know how your brain processes information? Scientists call this the knowledge instinct. Basically, our brains love the feeling of no longer being confused. When you finally understand something new, your brain rewards you with a big hit of dopamine. But here's the problem. The brains of people who quit easily are extremely sensitive to something called reward prediction error. Imagine when you first started learning photography. On day 1, holding the camera felt magical. You learned about aperture, background blur, composition. Your learning speed was insanely fast. Every 5 minutes you went, "Oh," or "wow." At this stage, your brain was flooded with dopamine. It's just like the honeymoon phase of a new relationship. Everything looks pink and perfect. You feel naturally talented. You dream about your photos appearing in National Geographic. Scientists call this phase the novice high. But then the trap appears right after that. At some point, you've learned all the basic principles. You know what that button does, how that lens works. Suddenly, your learning speed slows down. You no longer have those aha moments every 5 minutes. You enter a phase called the plateau. This is when harsh reality hits. To take a truly artistic photo, it's not enough to just press the shutter. You need deep knowledge about light, hours of post-processing in Lightroom, and the patience to wait all day just for one perfect moment. For a normal brain, people can still quietly push forward. But for a sensitive brain like yours, the dopamine faucet gets shut off immediately. The excitement disappears, replaced by intense boredom and exhaustion. At this point, your brain turns into a strict accountant and starts calculating, hey, now I have to put in 10 times more effort just to get 1% of new knowledge? That's a huge loss. Stop. Go find something more fun. And so you quit. Not because you're lazy, but because you're experiencing dopamine withdrawal. Your subconscious realizes that the reward no longer matches the effort. However, this drop in dopamine happens to everyone. Anyone who learns something new will eventually get bored. So why do some people push through this low point while others don't? The answer lies in your psychological resilience. And ironically, the smarter you are, the weaker this resilience tends to be. Now, let's be honest for a moment. Back in school, were you the smart kid, the one who learned one thing and understood 10, barely studied but still got high scores? If the answer is yes, then you are at very high risk of falling into the mastery trap. Because you learned fast, your brain got used to things coming easily. You became addicted to fluency. And because of that, you never developed a very important psychological muscle called distress tolerance. The ability to sit with boredom, stuckness, confusion, and the feeling of, wow, I'm actually pretty dumb, without reacting by running away. Think of emotional endurance like the immune system. Kids who grow up in environments that are too clean often develop allergies. In the same way, people with very sharp intelligence often have extremely weak emotional immunity when facing difficulty. When the early excitement fades, the work becomes repetitive. Practicing guitar finger drills 1,000 times, rewriting the same buggy code over and over. This is when distress tolerance is supposed to show up. But for you, someone used to things being easy, this repetition isn't just boring. It feels like torture. It triggers real pain in the brain. And at that moment, your habit of quitting and jumping to a new project is actually an escape mechanism. We like to romanticize job hopping and project hopping. We call it being multi-talented or challenging ourselves. But look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you moving forward? Or are you running away from the discomfort of deep practice? The harsh truth is this: you have the intelligence of an adult, but the emotional patience of a 5-year-old crying for candy. So what's the treatment plan? We need to treat distress tolerance like a muscle, and the universal training rule for all situations comes down to one number: the 10-minute rule. Think about working out. Muscles don't grow during the easy first reps. They grow on the very last rep, when your arms are shaking and you want to quit the most. Intelligence works the same way. Next time you're writing or learning to code and boredom hits hard when your brain screams, check messages, scroll TikTok, recognize it immediately. This is the final rep. At that exact moment, give your brain an order. I'll let you rest, but in 10 more minutes. Then start a countdown timer. During these 10 buffer minutes, your job is not to do great work. Your job is to stay put. You can stare at the screen. You can type nonsense. But you are absolutely not allowed to switch tabs. Why 10 minutes? Because behavioral science shows that any urge peaks and attacks for about 10 minutes before it naturally fades. If you survive these 10 minutes of hell, the boredom will dissolve. Every time you do this, you are cutting off the neural pathway of procrastination and teaching your brain a new truth. Discomfort is not a signal to run away. It's a signal that mastery is beginning. But simply forcing yourself through willpower alone is not enough. You need a smarter psychological lever to trick fear itself. And that's when we bring in Kaizen. Why do you procrastinate when you set goals like write a novel or become a full-stack developer? Because to the amygdala, the fear center of your brain, those big goals look like a saber-toothed tiger. They are too big, too threatening, and too risky. The brain's ancient response kicks in and says, fight or run. In the modern world, run means lying on the couch and scrolling on your phone. This is mental inertia. The greatest resistance always happens at the starting line. To break through it, we borrow a Japanese philosophy: Kaizen, specifically the 1-minute rule, or micro steps. The principle is very simple. Break the task down until it becomes a joke to your fear. Don't set a goal like practice guitar for 1 hour a day. Your brain will fight back immediately. Instead, set this goal. Pick up the guitar and play exactly 3 notes. That's it. Don't set a goal like finish this book. Set a goal like read exactly 1 paragraph. Why does this work? Because it tricks the amygdala. Play 3 notes is so small, so safe, that the brain doesn't even bother to sound the alarm. You quietly slip past the defense wall of procrastination. And here's the magic part. Once you've picked up the guitar, you almost never play just 3 notes and put it down. You end up playing for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes an entire hour. This is how you activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic and planning, to take control back from the wild animal inside. Now apply the polymath mindset here. If you want to learn drawing, music, and coding at the same time, don't try to grind like a maniac. Scatter small pebbles every day. 1 line of code, One pencil sketch, one sentence in French. You turn a painful process into a game you always win. And every small win releases a bit of healthy dopamine, feeding your motivation to keep going. But that leads to an important question. If we keep going like this, are we wasting time on things that lead nowhere? When is it actually the right time to quit? Society teaches us winners never quit and quitters never win. That line is completely wrong. The truth is the most successful people in the world quit all the time. They quit projects that aren't viable. They quit toxic relationships. They quit bad strategies. The difference between them and you is not whether they quit. It's when they let go. They don't quit because they're tired. They quit because of strategy. Picture this. When you start something new, you fall into a deep hole. Seth Godin calls it the dip. This is the phase where the early excitement is gone, but results haven't shown up yet. You work like crazy, but the output is still zero. Most of us quit right at the bottom of this hole for very emotional reasons. This feels pointless. This is too hard. But a polymath, a smart, multi-skilled person, doesn't quit at the bottom of the hole because of feelings. They only quit when they realize they've entered a dead end. So how do you tell the difference? Here's the secret formula. I call it the utility point. Listen carefully. Never quit on your worst day. Don't abandon the guitar just because today your fingers are blistered and sore. That's emotion lying to you. You should only stop after you've reached about 80% of the core fundamentals of that skill, enough to use it to support another skill. Let's say you suddenly want to learn photography. If your goal is to become a National Geographic photographer shooting lions in Africa, then you must crawl through a brutal 10-year training dip. There is no shortcut. But if you're a writer and you're learning photography just to make better cover images for your articles, then the moment you know how to adjust aperture, understand the rule of thirds, and do basic color correction, congratulations, you've reached the utility point. At that point, you can pack up the camera, put it away, and move on to something else. Stopping here is not failure. It means you've finished harvesting. You got the gem you needed without spending 5 more years polishing something that was never the main goal. That's not the shallow boredom of a lazy person. That's the cold calculation of someone who knows how to manage their time. You're not quitting, you're just changing the channel. And this is the moment when all the broken pieces of your life finally click into one complete picture. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I keep learning a little bit of everything like this? What's the point? The answer is 2 words: skill stacking. The old world taught us to become the sharpest nail, to specialize, to be the #1 expert. But look at what's happening now. AI is here. And guess who is the easiest to replace? The specialists who only know how to do one thing, even if they do it extremely well. AI can write code faster than programmers. AI can translate faster than translators. But who does AI struggle with? People like you. Bridge builders. Look at James Cameron. People call him the director of Avatar and Titanic. But at his core, he is a true polymath. He is a physics engineer, a deep-sea diver, and an ocean explorer. When he made Avatar, 3D filming technology at the time wasn't good enough. He didn't wait. He used an engineer's mindset to invent the camera system he needed. He used physics to solve an art problem. A pure director would be stuck. A pure engineer would lack artistic vision. Only the combination of both created a box office record. Or take someone closer to us, Ryan Reynolds. Handsome, funny actors in Hollywood are everywhere. If he only knew how to act, Ryan would just be another A-list star. But he stacked one more skill: viral marketing. He didn't just play Deadpool. He used Deadpool's sarcastic humor to advertise aviation gin, Mint Mobile, and even the Wrexham football club he owns. The result? He sold his companies for billions of dollars. He's not just an actor working for studios. He's a one-man media empire. Do you see the power now? If James Cameron only knew how to dive, he'd be an unknown explorer. If Ryan Reynolds only knew how to act, he'd just be a pretty face on screen. It's the intersection of seemingly unrelated skills that made them unique. If you only write well, you're just one grain of sand. If you only understand finance, you're also just one grain of sand. But if you're the only person in the room who can write like a novelist and deeply understand the stock market, you become rare. Scott Adams, the creator of Dilbert, once said this: instead of trying to be the best at one thing, try to become very good, top 25%, at multiple things and then combine them. That's how most people succeed. That is your advantage. What you once hated about yourself, you're getting bored too fast, is actually an instinct pushing you to search for missing pieces. You're not quitting. You're gathering materials. Every time you learn a bit of guitar, a bit of coding, a bit of cooking, and a bit of psychology, you are building a unique toolkit that no school teaches and no AI can copy. Your mission is not to squeeze yourself into a narrow mold. Your mission is to stay curious, to keep connecting dots that most people never see. So remember this deeply. The world may still look at your unfinished projects and shake its head. People may still label you as undisciplined or easily distracted. But from this moment on, everything changes. Because you now understand the real issue. Never think you are broken or lacking just because you're not like them. You are not broken at all. Your way of thinking is completely natural. It's just different from the majority. You were not born to do one repetitive thing for your entire life. You were born to learn many things, experience many fields, and connect that knowledge to create your own path. If this video feels like it truly reads who you are, then the video appearing on your screen right now is the missing piece you've been looking for. Click it. You'll understand.